Hi, hello, my dear friends. Welcome to this channel. How is life going on? So, in this video, I want to talk about BER of a wireless fading channel. So, in the previous video, I was talking about BER of a AWGN channel. Uh, so, we will use that equation here in order to progress for wireless fading channel. So, for AWGN channel, we have seen that the equation for probability of error is equal to Q function of square root of p by sigma square, right? Or q function of square root of SNR. So we have y is equal to hx plus n, where the h is wireless fading channel. All right. So for this, we need to calculate the SNR. So what is SNR? So signal power divided by noise power. Signal power is given by hx. This is a signal over here, which is the whole square divided by modulus of n square. So since h and x can be considered as independent, we can write it as mod of h square and mod of x square divided by this is sigma square. So which is actually mod of h square is power, which we have taken it as g, and this is p divided by sigma square. All right. So this is I would say fading. So SNRF I will say. So this will turn out to be g into just SNR, right? This SNR is nothing but p by sigma square. Here, if you see carefully, this mod of h square is coming because of the fading channel coefficients, right? And this would be varying, and hence your SNR is also varying over a period of time, right? So whatever BER we get for a wireless fading channel, that would be instantaneous, because each and every moment it changes because of a fading changes in the fading channel coefficient. So the instantaneous BER is given by so GP by sigma square. Now we will talk about what is the SNR requirement. So in the AWGN channel, we were talking about the probability of error less than 10 to the power of minus 6. To achieve this, what should be the SNR, right? So we figured out that it was around 13.58 dB. Now we need to let us keep the same parameters. Okay, so basically your probability of error, which is BER, should be less than 10 to the power of minus 6. Now we will introduce one more quantity, that is called outage probability. So outage probability, what does it mean? Let's say I want to achieve BER less than 10 to the power of minus 6. Let's say this happens for 99% of time. Okay, so which means the outage will happen only 1%, where you will see the worst BER, which means the BER would which is greater than 10 to the power of minus 6. So basically, if you are telling 99%, basically it is like the probability. Okay, probability of BER less than 10 to the power of minus 6 should be happening 99% of the time. So probability, this is actually G into SNR less than 10 to the power of minus 6. So this is 0.99, right? Um, Actually, this BR is nothing but your Q function of square root of this value, right? So if you solve for the Q function over here, you will actually get G into SNR, which is greater than 22.5. I have directly taken this, but you can verify this by going through the Q tables. So now if we solve this, how do we solve? Because this is a G is a instantaneous value, so we need to apply the corresponding PDF to achieve this, right? Probability is nothing but like, so your G should be greater than 22.5, right? Which means it starts from 22.5 divided by SNR and goes up to infinity, and this is the distribution. All right, so that's how we can write from this equation to this equation, and uh, your f of g is actually e to the power of minus g. Okay, I missed dg here, so minus g. So if you solve this, okay, if you solve this, I am going to write it directly. So your SNR would come to be around 33.50 dB. So what does this mean from year to year? This says that we need to put in more power to compensate the scenario where BER increases, right? So approximately, I would say 20 dB extra we need to pour in a wireless channel or in a wireless fading channel compared to your AWGN channel. So this is pretty much costly because to achieve the same bit error rate, we need to pump in more power, which would be actually, which would make the system costly, or which would make the system whatever we have seen right now is instantaneous BR, right? So which is actually given by Q function of square root of G into SNR. Yeah, I'm missing the square root all the time. So here I would say uh, square root. So this is instantaneous BR, but what about average BR? Can we get average BR? Yes, possible. So for that, what we need to do is we need to take the expectation of this BR, which is actually expectation of Q of square root of G into SNR. So this is a G is the random quantity. So we need to take the expectation. So we need to use the PDF function corresponding to the distribution of G. And if we actually solve this, we would get the BR average BR. So I have not solved it, but you can go to the textbooks and solve this, or you can approach me separately as well if you want to know the derivation of this via email. So this will turn out to be average BR will come to this equation. So we can do some approximations. Before that, we have this BR, right? So again, if you want to go for 10 to the power of minus 6, what is the SNR, right? So using this equation, if you solve, you will actually see that SNR will required is 56.99 dB. So basically, it's like 44 dB extra power we need to pump. All right. So at ISNR, so we can simplify this BR average, and we can do the approximation using Taylor distributions and things like that. So finally, we can arrive at this value. All right. So we see that if SNR is very high, then you will see the bit error rate going down, and vice versa. Now we will talk about one scenario where we can improve the system in terms of better BER with less power. All right. So basically, it is to say that how to enhance the BER performance. So consider a system which is a transmitter, and let's say there is a receiver. Okay, so if there is only one link, and if that link goes down, you will not receive anything. So how about a system? Consider a TX, sorry, consider RX. Let's say you have multiple connections. So then you would see that if some of the connections goes bad, still you will be able to receive the signal via via some other link, right? So this would actually help to get a better performance. So let us try to see that with our outage probability equations, and how is it going to improve the system. So for simplicity, let us consider the TX, and let us consider the RX, which has just the two receive antennas. Now the signal would go via these two directions. So we have channel coefficients H1 and H2. All right, here we have considered NR, number of receive antenna, is equal to 2. So here H1 and H2 are the different feeding version of it will produce the different feeding versions, and hence what we can say is Y1 and Y2, which are received at RX, will have a different faded version of X. Okay, this is the X which we are transmitting, let's say for example. So Y1 will be um, H1 X1, and Y2 will be uh, H2 X. Okay, this is just X. Now consider our outage probability. Okay, so outage probability, we have taken it as 0.01, which is just 1%, right? We need to achieve the BER less than 10 to the power of minus 6 for 99% of the times. So let us use our equation. Okay, so for outage to happen, let's say outage happens when you have TX and when you have RX, and we saw that there are two links. So when both links goes down, then the outage happens, right? Which means that um, the probability of square root of G1 into SNR1, right? And for the second link, we have G2 into SNR2. Now earlier we had seen that the probability of this BR, which is Q into square root of G1 into SNR1. Okay, uh, this becoming less than 10 to the power of minus 6 for 99% of the times. So we had what is the equation which we have come across here. So if you solve this, it becomes probability of G1 greater than or equal to 22.56 divided by SNR1, right? But since this is a probability, so um, if we want to convert this into uh, the outage probability, then how does the equation look like? The equation would look like the probability of G1 less than 22.56 divided by SNR1 is equal to 0.01. Correct. So this is the negation to the outage probability. Okay. So we we saw that the outage happens when both conditions are going to meet, which means when the probability of um, G1 less than 22.56 divided by SNR, and probability of G2 less than 22.56 divided by SNR. If both these conditions hold good, then only the probability, then only the outage will happen. Okay, since both here we are considering one assumption, that is both H1 and H2 are independent. Okay, because of this, right? Since both are independent, this addition operation will turn out to be multiplicative operation in case of probability. So for probability G1 less than 22.56 divided by SNR, we would get 1 minus e to the power of minus 22.56 divided by SNR, and 1 minus e to the power of minus 22.56. So this should be equal to 0.01. All right. So if we solve for this, what do we get? Now I am directly writing this equation. We will get 23.3 dB. Okay. So this is just for two antennas. So if you see if you see the instantaneous BER which we had taken for one antenna, uh, it was around 33 dB, right? So now that has come down to 23.33 dB, which means with the two antennas, there is a reduction of around approximately 10 dB. So by using the multiple antennas, we can actually achieve a better BER performance, even at actually much lower SNR, much lower requirement of power. So that was for the two antenna case, but let's say in general, what can we write? Like for let's say NR antennas. So we had this equation, right? So 1 minus e to the power of minus 22.56 divided by SNR whole square is equal to that outage probability. I would say P0. So if you solve for this, then it will come to be SNR is equal to um, 22.56 divided by square root of P naught. So if we go for dB, then it would be 10 log 22.56 minus 10 by 2 log of P naught, right? So this P naught, this 2 is actually, earlier it was NR, so we need to replace it with NR. So then finally your equation will become 13.6 dB minus 10 by NR log of P naught. So I hope this concept is clear, which is the BER of the BER of the wireless fading channel. In the upcoming video, we will see many other multi-path mitigation techniques like maximum ratio combining and other techniques in order to improve the performance of the system in terms of bit rate or in terms of reduction of power requirements. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.